Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and last week we took a look at all the different internet options that are coming into my region here in Connecticut, and one of the options I talked about was Verizon's 5G home internet service, and although it doesn't work at all at my house, a friend of mine just around the corner does have it, and he's very happy with it. So I went over there and did a bunch of tests, and what we're going to do in this video is a little review of what my experiences were with Verizon's 5G internet. Let's get into it. Now, the pricing on this Verizon home internet service is very aggressive if you are an existing Verizon Wireless customer. So he is, and he's paying $25 a month for their standard 5G home service. There is a Plus service available, but it doesn't appear to offer anything more insofar as connectivity is concerned. But you do get an extra year of their price guarantee. So he's only got a 2-year guarantee on his plan. The more expensive plan has a 3-year guarantee. And the Home Plus plan also gives you Walmart Plus for a year. So that kind of pays for itself if you are a frequent Walmart customer. But he's not, and he's happy paying $25 a month and saving all that money. Now, this is the gateway that they gave him for the service. It's part of the deal. It is connecting not only to the Verizon tower, which is right next door to his house, but it is also providing Wi-Fi service to his home. It does support Wi-Fi 6, but not 6E. Inside or on the bottom of the router here, you have 2 Ethernet ports, so you can hardwire your devices in like you would with another internet router. And a little later, I'll show you a couple of screens from the control panel so you can see some of the things you can do with the network configuration. What he's doing right now is that he's running one of those Ethernet cables out to his garage so he can extend the network beyond the Wi-Fi range of the device. Verizon also has some Wi-Fi extenders available as part of the service if you need those, but he was able to extend the network out himself. So from the connectivity standpoint, it feels a lot like any other internet service would. They do recommend putting this gateway near a window, especially a window that is in a good line of sight, if you will, to the cell tower. And they do have some tools to help you find the best window to locate it. He's actually in an ideal spot because his tower is right next door, literally. And so he's getting a great signal everywhere in the house. And I tested it with my phone before we got started on testing the gateway. And inside his living room, this is what I got on my phone: 569 megabits per second down and 23.7 megabits per second up. Outside, I got about the same download speed, but about double the upload. So he's in a really ideal spot, which I am not, only a mile away. So if you have access to a recent Verizon smartphone, especially one that works on all their 5G bands, bring it to your house, run the speed test, and you'll get a good idea as to what you'll experience with the gateway if you do switch to their service offering. Now, the gateway, though, does run a little slower than my phone does. So as you can see here, we're getting about 300 megabits per second, give or take, on the downstream. This, by the way, was done by connecting my computer over Ethernet. In fact, all the testing you're going to see was done over Ethernet and not Wi-Fi, so we could get a good sense of the performance potential here. The upstream was a little weaker here also versus the phone, about 15 or 16 megabits per second, give or take. You might be able to get a little bit more, I think, if you get closer to the window with it, but overall, this is not bad for the price point, especially when you compare it to what a Comcast connection might cost, which delivers similar performance. But take note of the ping rate there, about 23 milliseconds, and you'll see some variation in those pings when we get a little further into the overview here. Now, Netflix works great on it. My friend watches a good amount of Netflix on his Roku, which is what we're playing it on here. And everything springs up very quickly. You wouldn't know you're on a cellular connection, to be honest with you. It didn't start with a low-resolution image. Everything just came up right away, as you can see. I also had him fast forward to midpoint of this particular film, and as you can see, things just sprung up very, very quickly, very similar to what you would experience on a regular wired internet connection. So all in, from a casual user standpoint, I think this is going to work very well, not only for video streaming, but of course all the other casual types of downstream activities you might do on an internet connection, like web browsing and email and, of course, video watching. He is, though, having a problem with Hulu. He signed up for the Hulu Live plan that gets you all your live TV along with some of your local channels. And every couple of days, he's got to call them up and reset everything because the IP address changes and Hulu can't validate his location. And so what happens here is that he can reset the location 4 times, and then he's locked out from doing it any further, and he has to call them to get them to reset it. So this has been a big frustration point for him at the moment. And I think Verizon and Hulu need to coordinate a little better here so their 5G home customers can get a good streaming experience. Now, my friend is not much of a gamer, but if he was, I don't think he'd be all that happy with the latency I'm seeing on the network. Now, what you're watching here is a game being streamed from the NVIDIA GeForce Now service. And keep an eye on the ping rate in the upper right-hand corner. You can see that it's hovering above 40 most of the time, and it's quite variable. It's jumping around a bit. And this is about double what I see on Comcast connections in the same area. So Comcast, at least for gaming activities, offers a much more stable ping rate. And I also noticed a very troubling ping variation here, just sending out a ping to google.com. Now, when I do the same IP address from my home, it is very consistent, about half of what you're seeing here. On this test, as you can see, the ping rate is all over the place. It almost feels a bit like the Starlink service. And the reason why it's doing this is because Verizon puts their home internet service at the bottom of their prioritization ladder for internet connectivity. So if mobile users off that tower are demanding more traffic, the home internet users kind of get put on the back of the line for their packets. And so you're going to see this wide variation in ping rates, which of course is not a great thing for multiplayer gaming or game streaming and other things that require a very instantaneous response. So although this internet connection is great for the casual kinds of activities that my friend is doing, people that are doing more hardcore activities or online multiplayer gaming will probably want to look elsewhere. Now, at the moment, there is no data cap on this plan, nor are there any penalties at the moment for using a lot of data. So on their smartphone plans, I think if I use more than 30 gigabytes of data transfer in a month, they slow me down. That is not the case here on the home internet plan, although again, you are on a lower priority level than other customers on their network. I was, though, surprised to see that the router has a lot of the features you'll see on a standard wired connection, including port forwarding, as well as a DMZ setting. So if you wanted to use your own router, you could put the DMZ on and point it at the router you want to use, and that would bypass the Verizon router completely. So there are some things that I was surprised to see in here. I was also interested to see that they do have a cellular traffic query page here to keep track of your data usage. So I wonder if down the road they're leaving the option open to restrict people more on their usage. But right now we're hoping to just get as many customers as possible with an all-you-can-eat plan. So we'll have to keep an eye on that to see what happens in the future. Now, for the techies out there, you can see what the router supports. In addition to 5G, it supports 4G LTE towers. So even if you don't have 5G nearby, but you get good 4G performance, you'll be able to make use of that performance in the home. Of note, though, is that this particular gateway doesn't support the millimeter wave towers that Verizon has up in more densely populated areas, but it does seem to support most of the sub-6 bands, including some of the new channels that Verizon is spinning up. So it should deliver good performance in most instances, but again, doesn't support the faster millimeter wave, although I suspect they'll have other routers that do. And I'm guessing they probably figure out which router you need based on where you are located. And speaking of location, this is what I get on my Verizon service just around the corner, like a mile away as a bird flies. And due to terrain and all the other factors that go into broadband performance over wireless networks, you can see that my experience is very different where I live. So again, this is going to vary greatly based on where your home is situated and where you are situating the gateway in your home. And the best I can get outdoors on my property is only 20 megabits per second down and about a megabit and a half upstream, along with a pretty abysmal ping rate here. So get those Verizon phones out and do some testing so you can get a feel for how things work. But I think if you're in a good spot like my friend is, this is a good alternative for casual users. It's not going to be something I'll recommend for streamers or gamers, but it is something I think for many consumers will work quite well. at an affordable price, at least for now. That's going to do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Brian Parker, Chris Allegretta, Hot Sauce and Video Games, Logic KGR, Tom Albrecht, and Amda Brown. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.